Hello and welcome to another episode of Troubadour Reacts. Today I will be reacting to Mr. Tambourine Man by Bob Dylan, which is definitely my first time hearing this song. I got it mixed up because I know Mr. Tambourine Man from somebody else, so it's possible I know these lyrics, but I've never heard it from Bob Dylan. So I think there's another popular song from because I remember listening to Golden Oldies growing up with my parents. And there's like, hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, sing a song for me. Right? That's not this song, I don't think. If it is, then I just ruined a whole reaction video. I'm sorry. So I don't know. But I'm pretty sure there's another Tambourine Man. I don't know. We'll see. So either way, I hope you'll stick around. Even if I've heard it before, I hope you'll stick around and listen to the song. The way I do not get paid for these reaction videos. I do it because I'm trying to explore a realm of art that I'm not good at, that I have not explored, which is contemporary music. I hope to inspire you to explore realms of art you're not very familiar with. Namely, if you want to explore with me the great literary canonical works from Homer to Melville, come on over to Troubadour.studio. It's my personal website. You could also get chapter 1 of the Iliad, my translation of the Iliad by Homer, line by line translation. That is something I developed for first time readers. Anybody who can speak and read English, age 12 and up, can get this book and really get something out of the Iliad. So come on over, Troubadour.studio/Iliad. You can download chapter 1 for free to see if you like it. And then you could buy the book from me if you'd like. That helps support the channel. Okay, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell and all that fun stuff. Share this with your friends, watch it on television, spread this so that I can do more of this more often. Let's get into the song. If you don't know how I do this, I will listen to this as a first reaction. I'll be looking at the lyrics as I go through this, and then I will pause and take some notes on some analysis, particularly from a classic art standpoint. Classic literature, drama, poetry, and things like that. And I'll bring out some insights that I have that hopefully will enliven you. Get into it.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man,
so I do know the
song for me.
But I don't know the.
I'm not sleepy.
So just to be clear, I don't know this. I know the lyrics a little bit now because that is the lyrics. The Hey Mr. Tambourine thing, but it's different person. Who sang the one I'm thinking about?
And there is no place I'm going to.
I do like his voice. I don't know why people...
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle, jangle morning, I'll come following you. Though I know that evening's empire has returned into sand, vanished from my hand, left me blindly here to stand, but still not sleeping.
So that automatically makes me think of Ozymandias by Percy Shelley, which is a poem I used to have memorized, but I don't have it memorized anymore. But it's such a great, my name is Ozymandias. Look on my works, ye, and tremble, or something. You mighty and tremble, and it's about it all is turned into sand.
My weariness amazes me. I am branded on my feet. I have no one to meet, and the ancient empty streets too dead for dreaming.
Yeah, I love this.
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy, and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In the jingle, jangle morning, I'll come following you. Take me on a trip upon your magic swirling ship. My senses have been stripped.
Yeah.
My hands can't feel to grip. My toes too numb to step. Wait only for my boot heels to be wandering.
So whoever sang the one that I'm thinking about, I recall what he's talking about there as I always thought of that as drugs, right? He's referring to his drug dealer and he's going on a trip. That's what I thought Mr. Tambourine Man means. That probably is what it means, but but I promise you it is a different version. It's I don't know. I don't know. You know,
Only for my
someone tell me.
heels,
I'll look it up.
wandering. I'm ready to go anywhere. I'm ready for to fade into my own parade. Cast your dance and spill my way. I promise to go under it. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In a jingle jangle morning, I come following you. Though you might hear laughing, spinning, swinging madly across the sun, it's not aimed at anyone, it's just escaping on the run. And but for the sky, there are no fences facing. And if you hear vague traces of skipping reels of rhyme to your tambourine in time, it's just a ragged clown behind. I wouldn't pay it any mind. It's just a shadow you're seeing that he's chasing. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In a jingle jangle morning, I come following you.
So it's I feel like Drug Dealer's too simplistic for this though. And I also feel like this is a fuller version than what I'm thinking of. Because what I'm thinking about is some short, I want to find that song I'm thinking about that I'm sure you know. You're probably yelling at me like, Kirk, it's this, you dummy. But it's something that doesn't, I don't remember all this excess lyrics to it. It seems like that was just talking about the tripping and sensing, and it was, you know, like a 2-3 minute version of this 5.5 minute thing that's just about going on a trip. But I feel like this is a little bit deeper. I could be wrong. And is Tambourine Man like a tambourine? Am I stupid? Is it an actual tambourine? Like, what am I feel dumb. I'll have to look this up. I can't tell who are the people in that painting. Is that Martin Luther King Jr.? And is that like, I can only think of a poet or something, but I don't know if that's a great poet up there. The painting.
And take me disappearing through the smoke rings of my mind, down the foggy ruins of time, far past the frozen leaves, the haunted, frightened trees, out to the windy beach, far from the twisted reach of crazy sorrow.
Oh.
Yes, to dance beneath the diamond sky with one hand waving free, silhouetted by the sea, circled by the circus sands, with all memory and fate driven deep beneath the waves. Let me forget about today until tomorrow. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. In a jingle jangle morning, I come following you.
Man, I love that. Yeah, I really enjoy that. And those lyrics, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go through the song a couple more times. I'm going to look at the lyrics a little bit more carefully and then come back to you with some literary discussion. So I want to, bring out some things that were coming to my mind. I mean, the Percy Shelley, Ozymandias was the easiest one that came to mind, but there's a couple other things I'm thinking about that I want to explore. But I want to, I will tell you right now, I am thinking that Tambourine Man has to be code name for his drug dealer, though. That is the conclusion I came at the end, because the thing that it makes me think of, and I'm curious as I explore this, so these are my first thoughts, is that there's something about Tambourine Man, because tambourine's a kind of musical instrument, and how music can take you somewhere. And that seems to be more of what I'm getting from this, is where it takes you over something. And it could be also a drug dealer in the sense that, maybe there is something where maybe the guy would be playing a tambourine, you'd know that he was a drug dealer, so you'd go buy drugs from him. I don't know. That's what's coming to my mind. But I think there's also a great symbolism there, because art does take you on a journey. That's one of the core features of any work of art, particularly lyrical, musical, epic poetry, novels. They all kind of take you somewhere. And, he's enmeshing this journey, which I want to look at more carefully in a minute, into his views about, or into like this nature exploration. Like he had all these nature metaphors and nature imagery at the end, especially. Give me 1 minute. Oh my God. Wow. Did I learn a lot? I'm sure a lot of you were thinking, what the hell is this guy talking about? So I went and listened to the Dylan song again. I went through all the lyrics. I wrote down, a ton of notes on what I was thinking and seeing about this. And one of the things that, and then I listened to the song I was thinking about originally, which was the Mr. Tambourine Man by the Byrds. And I learned a lot about history. So there's a book back here. I don't think you could see it. It might be this one, maybe, or maybe it's over here. I don't know. But it's a book I bought that I have not read yet called Dylan Goes Electric. And that I want to learn more about because, one, I think the drug dealer thing is possibly there. I don't know if I heard that from my dad or something and just it's stuck in my head and it's been there forever. I think this goes way deeper than that, though. This from Dylan and the Byrds, but particularly Dylan. So here's a couple things that I learned. I did some research on this. One, in listening to this, what the Byrds did is they pretty much just used one, verse and a couple lines, and they made it a little even more trippy. I think the Jingle Jangle really has a different feel because there's lots of these string instrument sounds to it. And I think part of that's the electrifying part of it. And it fundamentally changes the meaning and thinking that you do when you experience both of them, especially back to back. The Dylan song feels more like a pilgrimage. It feels more like a troubadour with just his lyre, Lyre, guitar, just kind of going around, kind of singing a song, versus a serious flight, like the electrified singing and music. The accompanying music is much more elevated in the Byrds song. I think that Dylan's song primarily feels like it's exhausted man, where the Byrds song is a lot more like a kind of hymn of freedom. I mean, it feels like a hymn of something lighter and great and grander and in an emotional sense, whereas Dylan, it's more of an intellectual exhaustion and like he's just tired. And it actually made me think of a poem I'm going to mention in a minute. So Dylan, who wrote this, is the visionary, despairing man, versus the Byrds, who I read, they created and did this song and I think performed it like months or the same year that Dylan plugged, the quote I saw, like plugged in his electric guitar. There is a difference between the kind of visionary despair feeling that you get, the despondency, but it's visionary, versus the Byrds, which has more of that youthful optimism in it. This Jingle Jangle thing is really important. Like this seems, so I don't know this part. I'm going to make a conjecture here. This song in particular feels like a pivotal moment, particularly because of that Jingle Jangle going from the folk to the electric future. But it was But there's a fundamental transformational meaning shift that happens in that. Partially because I think the emotional music and communal aspect of art is elevated from the individual romantic artist's burden. That's how it had always been for the lyric poet, going all the way back to the Romantic era with someone like Thomas Chatterton, who wrote some poems, didn't do well, ended his own life. And then many romantic artists elevated him because he ended up being a very great poet. He just didn't continue with it. He gave up too soon type thing. Okay, so the poem that I actually thought of. So I thought of a whole bunch of things. I'll probably rattle off some connections you can look up if you're interested later. But the one I wanted to dig into quickly is Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Xanadu, Kubla Khan, which is in Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alph, the sacred river, ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. It's not a long poem, but I won't read the whole thing. But he does a lot of the same things. A lot of romantics did this with, here's a line here. Amid whose swift half intermitted burst, huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chafy grain beneath the thresher's flail, and mid these dancing rocks at once and ever, if flung up momentarily the sacred river, 5 miles meandering like a mazy motion. So there's a lot about the ocean, or the nature and the way that they are shaped by the human mind. And let me read a little. And take me disappear. So this is Dylan. And take me disappearing through the smoke rings of my mind, down the foggy ruins of time, for far past the frozen leaves, the haunted, frightened trees, out to the windy beach, far from the twisted reach of crazy sorrow, yes, to dance beneath the diamond sky, with one hand waving free, silhouetted by the sea, and so on and so forth. So I really think there's a lot of connections here. Let me point out a couple. So one, I think the Tambourine Man is something closer to what I was saying at the end of my reaction, which was the journey. It's actually a kind of invocation like the Greek. So like you can get my Troubadour go to troubadour.studio/Iliad and order the Iliad so you could see a real invocation. Sing to me, muse of the wrath of Achilles. And it's, hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me. I'm not sleepy and there's no place I'm going to be. And so you see a lot of that in lots of literature. William Blake does this in the introduction to Songs of Innocence and Experience, where he sings to a muse that's basically a cherub that tells him to sing songs himself. And that's what Songs of Innocence and Experience turns into. So there's a long history of that. And Kubla Khan does a similar type of thing, not at the beginning, but he says, could I revive within me her symphony and song to such a deep delight, 'twould win me over, and goes on about this kind of connection to the song within himself. The magic swirling ship and the pleasure dome. Take me on a trip upon your magic swirling ship. My senses have been stripped. My hands can't feel to grip. That's one of the reasons why I felt it was a drug song. I did learn, this is why I thought about Kubla Khan, is that both of them, Kubla Khan and Dylan, are written in a state after waking up from a drug-induced state, essentially. So Coleridge famously, it's called a fragment because he was taking, I can't remember the drug that was popular at the time. He was sniffing some drug. And he came up with this poem. He's had this vision, came up with it, and then was interrupted and never could finish it. And Dylan comes out of this stupor of amphetamines or something like that and thinks of this thing. So there is a drug relation. So I was correct there. I mean, it seems really surreal is the word that comes to me, both of them. The magic swirling ship. So I think of like acid, really, with that kind of swirl, and the pleasure dome, the architecture of imagination itself. So Dylan, he's kind of like going on a vessel through the imagination. There's a kind of longer poem by William Wordsworth called Peter Bell, which starts by going on a rowboat that floats through the ether and through the stars and the moon. And here's how that begins, that poem. There's something in a flying horse and something in a huge balloon, But through the clouds I'll never float until I have a little boat whose shape is like a crescent moon. And then he goes on this whole long journey on this boat. Okay, so I see a lot of that where for Dylan, it's about the journey of the imagination that this Tambourine Man can take you on, or that he's taken on probably by the music, the experience, and drugs itself. And then Xanadu, which I think is actually more about Coleridge explaining the architecture of the imagination. Dylan has this line, "Cast your dancing spell my way, I promise to go under it." And the kind of idea of the state of trance, artist as possessed visionary, I think is a big part of this. And all who heard should see them there, and all should cry, beware, beware. His flashing eyes, his floating hair, for he on honeydew hath fed and drunk the milk of paradise. To go under the spell is to surrender consciousness, and the poet willingly loses himself in the trance of a song. That's the depiction of artistic possession, and its creation is kind of a blessing, but also there's a danger. Cast your dancing spell my way, I promise to go under it. And in this case, he's willingly taking on that artistic possession. There was an interesting connection about the echo and the fragment aspect, the vision interrupted. So, Coleridge is, like I said, this is a vision in a dream. A fragment is how Coleridge titled this, or subtitled. Dylan has that same kind of thing where there's a fatigue. He's waking up and there's tension between sleep and vision. And he says, I'm not sleepy and there is no place I'm going to go. Let me forget about today until tomorrow. And I think that's just kind of this idea of him trying to gain this vision. But the thing again that really struck me was when I learned about the transition from this kind of the way that Dylan and others like him, the folklore bringing meaning and thought to people that way versus the electric, which really emphasizes the music over the words. Because notice how there's way more lyrics in Dylan, way less lyrics in the Byrds version. I think that's very representative. And that's always something that I've struggled with when it comes to appreciating contemporary music as literature. So I can appreciate and love it as music, meaning that it just hits my emotions, which is what music does better than anything else. It goes straight to your emotions. But as literature, which means the contemplation of the words, the drama, the imagery, it's not been that much, because in almost all contemporary music, it is only the music above everything else. Or the lyrics are pushed down. And this is a perfect example of that, where they cut out a lot of the words. So the whole story means something different. And they elevated, to a 12-string symphony almost of these, not really symphony, but just a 12-string instruments that, changed the meaning even of the Jingle, Jangle. So the Jingle, Jangle, for instance, is a really good example of this, where I think Dylan is literally meaning an onomatopoeia of a tambourine. And it's like the jingle, jangle of a tambourine, right? They have those little bells on the side of it or whatever. That's what he's referring to of waking up to this and trying to go on this journey. Whereas I think it takes on a slightly different meaning in the Byrds, because the sound has such an elevation with all these electric guitar, 12-piece, whatever sounds to it, which you can hear all these different, guitar or string sounds in the background. So I think it takes on a different meaning in each one. And I think that's a really interesting change in how music has developed since then, which I had no idea. So I was like, this is intense. I had no idea all the change. I need to read that book now. Okay. So I went on longer than I wanted to, but I hope you found that interesting. Thank you for sticking around. Keep on recommending. Make sure to like, subscribe, go to troubadour.studio/Iliad, buy the Homer book so I can keep doing this. All right. Talk to you soon. See you next time.